Alright, so in this video we're going to have a translation and a discussion of Aeneid, Book 4, lines 305 through 330. Aeneas has broken the news to Dido that he has got to leave, and she is going to obviously be a roller coaster of emotions in her speech that she is about to deliver, that we're about to read now, all over the place, oscillating between, anger beyond belief to sorrow and begging and pity and all kinds of emotions. It's all over the place and absolutely fantastic. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So, sperasti is a syncopated form, speravisti, from spero, sperare. So, did you even hope? And therefore starts out in the vocative, faithless guy. Doesn't call him by name, a vocative adjective, and you can translate it something along the lines of scumbag or dirtbag or whatever you would like. And so even, did you hope to be able to hide, to dissimulare, such a large, unholy thing? Phos means divinely right. Nephos is undivine or not divine. And so, did you even hope to be able to hide such a great unholy thing, faithless dirtbag? And did you hope, you silent, to depart from my land? And so starts out with anger, with that mean vocative adjective calling him that, of being indignant and disbelief. But then it oscillates into a little bit of begging. Does not our love, does not the right hand, having been given once upon a time, does not Dido, about to die in a cruel death, in a cruel funeral, does any of that, the love, the right hand, symbolic of our marriage, and Dido herself, hold you, in other words, keep you here, retain you? Quin. In a sense, Quin is going to kind of be a sarcastic why not? And so therefore, quin etiam in this context, why not even, don't you rush to build up your fleet, a deponent verb, molior, moliri, molitasum, in the winter star, and time in which you are not supposed to be sailing in the Mediterranean because of the frequent storms that occur, obviously, in the winter. And so why not even do you rush to build up your fleet in the winter star, and to go through the deep, through the sea, in the middle Aquila winds? And then here, again, not by name, but a vocative adjective, cruel one, you meanie, and think of any sort of invective word that you can come up with of calling somebody out for being just heartless. You heartless SOB. That's how you can translate crudelis. And so therefore, what about if, and here what we have in this protasis, remember that the protasis is the if clause in a conditional. You have a imperfect subjunctive. The left of my vertical line I just drew is the present active infinitive, to the right you're ending, and so therefore we're in a present contrary to fact. And so you translate present contrary to fact as if the subject was verbing, were verbing, then the other subject would verb in the apodosis or then clause. And so therefore, what about, she says, if you were not seeking foreign fields and unknown houses, and ancient Troy was remaining, and now we get to here, which is obviously the apodosis, would Troy be sought through the wavy sea with your fleets? So in other words, you have this convenient excuse for leaving me, and your convenient excuse is that obviously you've got to move on. The gods have said it. But what about if Troy were still there? Would you also leave? Coming up with these hypotheticals because of how upset and how angry she is. She then turns and asks, Mene fugus? Do you flee me? In other words, is it me? Am I the problem? And here you can see the sorrow coming over her. to where she's considering all the reasons as to why he might be leaving. She's going to hear why he has said, but you don't want to hear that kind of stuff when you are hurt. Instead, you just want to not have the feelings that you do. And that is Dido at this time. And look how all over the place that she is about to be, starting with this pair ego. Ego, that's our subject. Oro is the verb with which it is paired. And then the te. And you see how far apart it is, because that is how her emotions are. They indeed are all over the place, and her words are all over the place. And so she says, I beg you. And in terms of oaths, pair doesn't mean through, but more so by. Like, by these tears, by your right hand, by our marriages, and by the wedding vows having been begun. So by all of that, quando, since now I myself have left behind, relinquere, nothing else for miserable me. It is in this line that she is revealing that she has pushed all of her poker chips into this relationship with Aeneas. She has broken her vow. She has neglected her city. She has neglected her people. She has given up everything for him. And it is at this moment that now he is telling her, I'm about to walk out. And so she says again, I beg you, through these tears in your right hand, and through these our marriages, and through the wedding vows having been begun, since, again, now I myself have left behind nothing else for miserable me. I put everything into you. I beg you, if I have earned Mario Merere, Merui, if I have earned anything, si nisi numene, all the allies fall away. If I have earned anything, well or good, from you. Or if anything of mine has been sweet to you, if I have done you right, if I am delivered in this relationship, miserere. This deponent verb, misereor, misereri, will often take a genitive object, which is why domus in the genitive singular modified by labentis. Take pity upon the tottering house. This relationship is the house that we have built together, and it is tottering because I've heard word, you're about to walk out. I beg you, take pity upon our tottering house and drive out istam mentem, that mind. But remember, stood is more than just that. It's that freaking, that stupid, that dumb idea of leaving. Drive out that mind. If still there is implied any place, any opportunity, any chance for prayers. So, pretty emotional stuff in which she reveals that I have put everything, I have sacrificed everything into you, into this relationship, and she is at her wit's end, all over the place in her emotions, as it were. Continuing on, propter te, a little bit of an anastrophe, which we have the inverted word order. On account of you, the Libyan races and the leaders, the tyrants of the nomads, these are the groups of tribes living in northern Africa, they have hated Odyssey and implied me. On account of you, the Tyrians are hostile, the people that she abandoned with her evil brother Pygmalion. Propter eundem te, on account of the same you. Again, is a id with the dem is going to have now the meaning the same. On account of that same you, my pudor, my sense of sexual purity, my sense of just purity in and of itself, it extinguished. And my previous reputation. She used to be so respected. She used to be so admired because she kept herself pure, was not interested in a relationship, not interested in a husband, focused only on her people. But now she's thrown that all away with Aeneas. And for what? Aeneas is leaving. And so again, on account of that same you, my sense of purity and my previous reputation extinguished. With which, remember make ablatives, by, with, because of, from, in, on, at, with which alone I was going to the stars. I was so respected. I was held in such lofty regard. And now I've just flushed that all away. This is a woman who obviously is in full regret and emotional turmoil. Next, she says, "For whom are you deserting me about to die?" Basically, she says, what's her name? What's her name? As in, there must be this other woman. There must be somebody else that you're interested in. What's her name? And so again, for whom are you deserting me about to die? Guest. And this is an incredibly sharp insult. Because again, like the previous times that we have seen these vocatives, here, this is cutting home the hardest. Because she was considering him, Aeneas, her husband. But now in this one decision that Aeneas says that he has to leave, he is reduced to only guest, acquaintance, somebody who happens to be staying here. And so, she then furthers home that point. Since this name only, this name alone remains from spouse. Used to be husband, used to be spouse, now it's merely guest. Quid moror? What reason or why do I delay? Moror morari morata sum. Whether while Pygmalion would destroy my walls and brother Pygmalion, or Gaetulian Iarbas should lead away me, having been captured, implied. So in other words, I think in some sense, why am I wasting my time talking to you? I've got other issues in my life. I'm under threat from the people in the neighborhood, that Iarbas is now mad because obviously I rejected him and I brought on you. And then the whole time I'm also having to look over my shoulder to see if my brother Pygmalion doesn't come and avenge me leaving with much of the treasury of Tyre that obviously I did when I left to come and make this place. And so, what do I... Alright, so let's finish it up and continue here. Sorry about the splicing. But we begin on 327. At least... If, and remember, si nisi numine, all the alis fall away, si nisi numine, ali goes on holiday. And so it is modifying suboles. If some offspring, and here we have for this protasis of a conditional, a pluperfect subjunctive, and so we have as the protasis the translation of a past contraitive fact, had verbed. And so, if some offspring had been undertaken for me, from you, before your flight, if you would at least have the decency to give me a baby. If some, and again, si nisi numine, all the alis fall away, little bitty, and I translate that way because it is of course, diminutive, little bitty Aeneas, some little bitty Aeneas, were playing, and now what we have is a different protasis, an if clause, that now has an imperfect subjunctive, therefore creating for us a present contraitive fact. If some little bitty Aeneas were playing in ablative the palace for me, a little bitty Aeneas who would bring back, however, you on his face. So in other words, you might be long gone, but when I look at this child, if you had had the decency to have left me with, I could be able to see him and the likeness in his face of you. Then, and what we have now is in the apodosis, the then clause, another imperfect subjunctive, present active infinitive, ending. Therefore, we are translating it as the apodosis of a present contraitive fact, would indeed not even would I seem completely captured and deserted. And so therefore, as we can see from the speech as a whole, she is an emotional wreck, she is all over the place, and she has all of these things going wild, and a pretty poignant and turbulent address to Aeneas. In the next video, we'll see what his response is, even though what response can he give to something so emotionally powerful as what has come from Dido in this moment. So, keep studying and good luck.